Hey everyone, and welcome to the Games Are Fun podcast. My name is Luke Armstrong, and I am your host. Joining me this week on our annual E3 predictions episode is the Beagle brothers. First off, we have Adam Beagle. Adam, how's it going?
Going great. I'm so excited for E3 and I'm ready to be wrong about a bunch of things.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited. I'm glad to have you back. I think this is our third year in a row doing predictions together, so it's been
Yep.
really fun that we're able to do that again. So, also joining us is the other Beagle brother, one of the other Beagle brothers, and that is Steven Beagle. How's it going, man?
It's going really well. Like Adam, I am super excited about this weekend, and I am so glad that E3 is back in action. And I think this one's going to be a hot one. It's going to be a really, really good one.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. What's so exciting is last year we ran into the problem of obviously COVID, there was no E3, it was canceled, and there was that big summer game mess of all these digital events and presentations. And Adam, Garrett, and I tried our best to kind of react to them and do predictions for things, when we had the notice for them. But it worked out this year that we got an E3 event and we have a bunch of press conferences that are scheduled out for this upcoming weekend and next week. So we wanted to predict what we're going to be seeing from some of those showcases. It is easily one of our, most anticipated episodes of the year. It's a lot of fun for us to kind of just, gush over our favorite announcements that we think are going to pop up at E3. Some of them realistic and some of them a little far-fetched. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that's what today's episode is going to be about. We're going to be giving predictions for the Ubisoft Forward, Xbox Bethesda, Nintendo Direct, as well as Square Enix. And maybe some other scatter predictions in there as well. But those are the kind of the main ones that we're focusing on right now. Obviously, we would love to do predictions for EA Play and Sony State of Play or PlayStation's E3 press conference, but those two companies aren't actually attending E3 this year, and they're holding events. At least EA has confirmed that there's an event happening next month, and then PlayStation maybe sometime this month, maybe sometime next month. So we're hoping that we can get some PlayStation predictions in too, but nonetheless, guys, I'm really excited to just kind of like spend the next hour and a half and just come up with some really awesome predictions. I'm really excited to see what you guys have planned. I'm going to say right off the bat that this year my predictions are a little safe. I think in years previous, I have kind of overshot a little bit and maybe I was a little overhyped for E3, and so I had that year off. I've tamed my expectations. But what about you guys? How are you feeling looking at those predictions that you made ahead of the show? Do you think you're pretty confident they're gonna work out in your favor? Are we gonna come back next week and crown a winner here of who got the most predictions right? I'll turn it over to you first, Adam.
I'm not confident in mine. I try to get a mix of sort of that safe, kind of like what you're doing, that safe, maybe some low hanging fruit, but I also wanted to get a little bit spicy. And I don't know that anything here is like super extra spicy, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit. If we've learned anything from our last episode where we talked about Horizon Forbidden West, is that my predictions are not good. So whatever I say is going to be wrong, and it'll probably get contradicted this weekend. So
Fair enough.
I feel safe with mine. Like you, Luke, I feel like mine were a lot of safe predictions, but we're going into not having a major event since 2019. A lot of companies, they had their chance to kind of hit the grindstone without much distraction from anything, even if they got home. I believe that Square Enix was not the only one that was able to be productive while the pandemic was going on, and that these companies are going to be dropping some really nice titles on us and stuff that we aren't even expecting as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, digital for the first time ever. We're in this kind of new age of digital press conferences and stuff. Like the video game industry has really moved away from the traditional stage press conferences with an audience to now moving kind of following what Nintendo started with digital directs and digital presentations. So it's really going to be interesting to see what the structure of E3 and their show is. I know that, GameSpot, IGN, all these outlets are going to have their own kind of broadcast going on, but that's what I'm kind of interested in seeing because, with the pandemic last year, we had all these companies kind of like quickly shuffle to turn their announcements into a digital format. And I think over the last several months, formatting and some of those technicalities have been kind of ironed out. So, an E3 2020 digital event maybe wouldn't look as impressive. I'm glad that like they kind of had that that whole year of the pandemic to kind of like look at these digital events in the video game industry and kind of hopefully structure them in a way that's going to knock it out of the park. Like I'm really optimistic about that, but you never know, right? It's kind of hit or miss with these digital events. Sometimes you get these companies that just knock them out of the park, and then other times you have others like, what was the point of this? This was a waste of like a half an hour. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. And I can't wait. I'm so excited, and it seemed like it just creeped up so quickly this year.
Yeah, and the fun thing about, well, maybe funny, if anything, is, everyone's like, E3's dead, E3's dead. Everyone's so ready to declare that there's no more need for E3. But let me tell you what, I've seen it all over the place. The hype is real. People are excited for E3 more so than any other event that's happening around this same time. Like, it just goes to show maybe E3 is not as dead as what everyone was speculating. But I'm excited for it. It's nice having this consolidated block of gaming news instead of just being strewn all throughout summer. I'm really glad about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get started, guys. So, welcome in to the show. Before we get started, we wanted to let you guys know that Games Are Fun is a weekly podcast. Every week, Adam, Steven, and I join together to talk about video game news, trendy industry topics, and give reviews on recent game releases. You can find the podcast on all major podcast services such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Just search for Games Are Fun podcast on your podcast platform of choice, and we should pop up on there. If you enjoy the show, please consider subscribing or following the show on whatever podcast platform that you listen on. We really appreciate everyone who's already done that. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, consider leaving a review so that this podcast can be found by future listeners. All right. And don't forget that we've taken a couple weeks off of the streaming, but twitch.tv/GamesAreFunPodcast, we stream the show live over on there. And we are planning on next week's episode to be live streamed on Twitch. And that's going to be kind of a reaction episode to E3. So you're not going to want to miss that next week. So twitch.tv/GamesAreFunPodcast, usually Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. MST. And then please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're slowly growing that, and we would really appreciate some support over there. Most of you have YouTube channels, so if you listen to the show on a podcast platform, if you watch on Twitch live, head over to YouTube, subscribe to us, even if you're not watching it over there. That just really helps us out, help us grow on that platform. Yeah, that'd be much appreciated. And before we get into the predictions, I have one little housekeeping point that I wanted to make, and that is the E3 watch-alongs on our Discord, the Games Are Fun Discord. So I forgot to mention this last episode. We talked about it literally right after we wrapped up of like, what's our plan for E3 coverage? Are we going to be doing some live streaming, reacting to the events? And while we thought, maybe we could stream it live on our Twitch channel, what makes more sense, especially with our schedules, is actually just running watch-alongs over on our Discord. So go to invite.gg/gamesarefun. There's a channel called Discord Chat. It's like an audio channel, and we're going to be trying our best to broadcast every single one of these major press conferences over the weekend and next week. So yeah, you can just join in. We're going to have the broadcast running there, and we'll gauge on if we're gonna have mics open and talk while the conferences are going on, or just text, whatever. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a bunch of us over on that Discord page, just kind of all joining together to celebrate the hype of video games and all the announcements that came from it. So make sure you join in on that. Yeah, Ubisoft, Xbox, Nintendo, Square, like I think those are like the ones for sure happening on there. But we're hoping to kind of organize some of the other ones too. All right. Well, let's get underway with our predictions. So I guess it makes the most sense just to go kind of like rotate around the table here, one after the other. I will say that we have 5 predictions each that we've prepped for. And we also have a couple bonus predictions that we're wanting to make. So we will maybe go through our regular predictions first, and then we can talk about these bonus predictions at the end, near the end of the show. So Steven, why don't you kick us off with your first prediction for E3 2021?
Again, this is a safe bet, but Ubisoft, I am going to go ahead and say that we're going to see Beyond Good and Evil 2 finally making a return to our faces, and we get a release date. And I think it's going to be a little bit sooner rather than later with that one as well. And that's where my first prediction is going to lie.
Interesting. Okay, so Beyond Good and Evil 2 making an appearance in what capacity? Like
we're going to see trailer. It'll be a full-blown thing. Trailer, gameplay, and date.
Okay. Do you want
That's, I think, maybe a little spicier than you give yourself credit for. I don't know that that's necessarily safe.
This is, when was this last? It was last announced, what, 2018?
Yeah.
So like we've had now 3 years that this, and even back then, like the game was still deep in development. It's got to be done. This thing has got to be ready to come to our systems.
I think, I don't recall, and I couldn't cite anything off the top of my head, but I do believe that there were some development issues with the game that kind of slowed things down. Not only that, but they were kind of crowdsourcing things too, if I recall correctly. For the game, I forget, they had that whole thing, like be a space monkey or something. I forget what the term was, where like people could participate in some way towards building the game. I don't recall exactly what that was, but yeah, I think there was a lot of stuff going on with this that I don't know that there, and I'm not saying that it's not going to show up in some capacity. I just don't think we're getting a date, and I don't think it'll be out this year. But I could definitely realistically see a trailer of some kind, maybe some gameplay. I'm just not expecting like a date or it being out anytime soon. If it doesn't show up too, I also wouldn't be surprised.
All right. I'll take it. I thought it was safe. I thought this was a safe one with how long ago it was announced and
Yeah.
the work that had been put in. Like,
Listen,
I think that it has a really good chance that we're going to see it. And yeah, I don't know if it'll be this year. I'm not going to specify. That's very spicy in my opinion. If I say it's going to be this year, my guts are telling me it's going to be next year sometime that we see Beyond Good and Evil come out. But we're definitely going to see it on Saturday.
So here's the thing. Metroid Prime 4 was announced in 2017. We haven't heard a word of it since. So 3 years, I mean, especially with new consoles coming out, new generation. Yeah, I don't know that 3 years is necessarily the safe point at which they can come out and just start talking about it and give release dates. Maybe, but I don't think so.
What I find weird about Beyond Good and Evil 2 is they announced it in 2018, and then I think it was 2019 E3 where we got that gameplay like showcase kind of thing. It was like a pretty lengthy gameplay reveal of it. And then the following E3 I'm incorrect. 2018 and then 2019 it just wasn't there. There was some sort of weird gap there where like, yeah, they had that kind of reveal on it and showed it off, and then it didn't show up the year after. So that was kind of weird. And yeah, I actually am more with Adam, and I'll just say my first Ubisoft prediction, and only Ubisoft prediction, was the total opposite of that, Steven, and that is that that Beyond Good and Evil 2 are nowhere to be found at the show, as is Skull and Bones, which seems more realistic with that game than. But I think neither, both of those games aren't even going to have any sort of presence on like their presentation. That's what I'm thinking. Which,
Where are you going with what's Ubisoft gonna do? Do you have something for Ubisoft then?
well,
Palooza, Adam?
No, I don't have anything for them. No, I feel like there's such a wild card, right? And there was some things that were like they officially said like this is gonna be here. There are certain things that we know are gonna
mhm,
be there, and I'm thinking to myself like I just don't know what else. I kind of wanted to make a prediction that there'd be like a Nintendo Ubisoft collab again,
mhm.
but I don't know. I kind of don't think so. I mean, what maybe best case it would be Mario and Rabbids 2, and I don't know. I feel like it would have been leaked by now if it was.
Right.
So that's why I didn't
Fair enough.
make that one of my predictions. So yeah, I don't know what Ubisoft is doing, other than the stuff that they've announced.
Yeah,
Did
it's
anyone predict Just Dance? I mean,
I
I
almost
didn't,
did.
but
I almost did. That's the real low hanging
Yeah.
fruit there for
Yeah,
coming to
right.
the Nintendo Wii.
I mean, probably.
Did they
Yeah.
still release it for the Wii? Or did they stop? Because I remember like they were
Uh,
still releasing it for the Wii, like up
I
until
think
like a couple
at
years
least
ago.
until 2019, I think.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
that's wild.
I think 2019. They definitely, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they did 2019. I don't know if they did 2020 or not.
Anyways, yeah, Ubisoft is a weird one. Looking at like, I was trying to do a little prep work, and yes, same thing. What they've already kind of clarified isn't going to be there, and what is. And Rainbow Six, I guess it's called Extraction now.
Yeah.
Previously Quarantine, and that is going to definitely have some sort of um, like main stage presence, it being a big game. Far Cry 6 obviously being a big game for them in the fall. So it's like, they have these like big franchises. AC Valhalla still has like another expansion with the season pass to come out and be formally revealed. So it's like, I don't know, like they're kind of in a weird spot where they have like their main franchise, like even the Division. There's that free to play Division Heartland game that's supposed to, and they shared that that's not going to be making an appearance during the forward. So it's like, I really don't know what they're going to show, and I hope that Ubisoft comes out like out of left field with something that we didn't expect. They, you know, and everyone's like saying Splinter Cell, Splinter Cell, Splinter Cell. That's the case every year, but it's like, I don't know. I just kind of like, I want Ubisoft to show off something this year that's like a brand new, like, I don't know. It just, I like Ubisoft games, but they're all the same. So I just want like
Mhm.
them to do something new and like like not just like something away from the like climbing your radio towers and just checking off a checklist. Like give us something different in that a different game that defines what gaming is in 2021. You know what I mean? Like you have your money sellers over there. What can you show us, Ubisoft? So.
Yep.
And it's interesting because it's like they did do that Far Cry like gameplay kind of reveal earlier. So it's like, oh, does that mean that they're going to maybe not spend as much time on Far Cry and save some room for some other stuff? Here's hoping.
Yep. And that's what I was thinking too whenever I came up with this good and evil thing, is that we already know there's some Valhalla stuff happening.
Mhm.
There's going to be Rainbow Six is going to be happening. Just Dance is a given. There's still a big chunk of window because they're going an hour. Yeah, they have an hour
that's
block.
pretty long, yeah.
Or no, they have a pre-show that's an hour, and then they have the actual forward that looks like it's going for maybe an hour, hour and a half. So there's a lot of time that Ubisoft is going to be up
Wow.
on the screen. There's something happening over there. They've got big stuff to show us because it's not just going to be,
Yeah.
Valhalla and Rainbow Six. And that's kind of, and I was looking back at what they previously announced and stuff. And that's why I felt this one was a safe bet, is that there's not a whole lot else floating around out there. We know Division's not going to be there. There's a huge gap of time that they're going to be filling up with a couple things,
Mhm.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 being one of them. So it's not just like, reaching in my pocket. Let me grab anything I can with Ubisoft. Like just kind of researching around
Yeah,
and
no,
things.
No,
That's where I'm sitting.
I think it's a fine prediction. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised either way, whether it shows up in some capacity or not.
hmm
I think there's a case to be made either way. So I mean, I think it was a good pick. It's a good prediction. I don't know. I mean, you make a good case with the length of time that their show's going to be. I think that's a really solid case for it to potentially be there. Again, I just wouldn't be surprised if it also wasn't there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Adam, why don't you give us a fresh prediction for something else then?
Sure. Yeah, I have no Ubisoft. I mean, I kind of wish I did since we've been talking about it, but mine I'm gonna say is pretty low hanging fruit. This is a safe one for sure. Is that we're gonna see official Starfield reveal, and it is gonna be that sort of Fallout 4 situation. Like, here's the game. It's coming out this year.
Ooh,
Enjoy.
nice. Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
like fall, like holiday release kind of thing.
Yep. Mhm.
Man.
I think like I'm with you. In fact, I avoided that one on my list
I know
as
it
a
seems too
prediction,
obvious. So
right?
I kind of didn't, but I'm like, you know what? Like,
I think
I'll have at least one safe one in there.
I think Microsoft's gonna have a great freaking show, and Starfield's gonna be there, and I think it's coming out this year too. I'm right there with you. I'm
Yeah.
right there with you.
Yeah, I
I
think it's time. I mean, it's been rumored for even before they officially announced it.
Hmm.
And then they had that announcement, what that was 2019 that they did that, I think. And then obviously last year we didn't have anything and we haven't heard anything from them since. And I think it's time.
Yeah, that's a good one. I that was one of my predictions as well, except for I put it as where is it here? Yeah, specifically showing off gameplay reveal and stuff is going to be shown. It's not just like a cinematic trailer, and but I put 2022. And the reason for that, I hope for 2021. Like I
Yeah.
think that's possible, and I think that there's a lot of people kind of in the same boat as you guys thinking holiday makes sense, and I'd be ecstatic. But I was like thinking of like, okay, there's a bunch of games that were supposed to come out last year that got delayed to this year. So like
Hmm.
any announcements that were made pre-pandemic, I'm kind of like in my mind just like, okay, that was a game I kind of expected by 2021. Maybe let's push it a little further now. So that's kind of what I've done with some other predictions too. But man, like if that's the game, like if we get like a reveal and then 6 months later, like, or not even like 4 or 5 months later, we're like playing it, like that would be incredible for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, me saying that it was going to come out this year was basically the only way I could think of to spice up this
Sure.
prediction. So that's why I did it. But
Yeah.
I am curious, um, what do you guys think it's going to be? Because we haven't seen, I don't think, any gameplay on it yet. So do you think it's going to be like Mass Effect? Is it going to be like Fallout in space, like Outer Worlds? Is it going to be something new, first person, third person? What do you guys think? All
I
we know
always
is
try
it's a
to,
space RPG.
yeah, I always try to avoid stuff like that, especially with the way that, especially now with the whole Death Stranding thing that I went through, where they initially showed this thing and I was a little peaked, and then I realized what the gameplay was, and I was completely turned off by it. So like, I have no idea. I'm gonna let what they show us this year, you know, let them show it to us what it is before I make any sort of
Mhm.
assumptions. I would love for it to be like Mass Effecty, especially since I'm in the middle of a Mass Effect playthrough. Um, because that vibe has hit me really hard right now. It'll be an easy yes. If it's a Fallout or Skyrim, Elder Scrolls sort of situation, that'll be a little touchy. We'll have to see like what everything looks like, how it looks played and stuff. Because Fallout doesn't settle with me well, but the Elder Scrolls series really does. So it kind of depends on on the take that they go with it. I don't know. Yeah, I'll just leave it up to whatever they want to show us. I have no expectations at this point.
I think it's gonna be like a combination of a Skyrim Fallout, but with like inspiration from, and you'll like this, Steven, No Man's Sky, like really
Mm.
kind of expanding the, because we're in space, and
Yeah.
what is like what is Skyrim and Fallout known for is like these big open worlds. It's like, okay, we're in space, so I think that it's gonna have a focus on space travel and stuff, and more of the No Man's Sky than the Outer Worlds, where you just go into a ship and like transport to this planet. It's like no, it's like an open universe. I'm hoping like that's kind of what I'm hoping for. But again, to echo what Steven said, I don't want to like create these expectations. Then it's like this reveal, and it's like, oh, that's totally not what I wanted. And then now like my vision of this game has been tainted. So yeah, I want it to, because I love Fallout, I love Skyrim. You know, it's Bethesda Softworks, so yeah, I would love for them to do that, but like just kind of like I just want this to be a game that doesn't get made fun of for kind of being having that janky Bethesda software. Like I want them to just like this is like their, you know, their Last of Us, or like they're just like it like I want Bethesda Softworks to have like this new chapter in this next gen of like, you know, and not to like discredit, like obviously Skyrim, Fallout, those are incredible franchises, but we all know that certain level of jank I'm talking about. Like I just want like this like really polished, incredible sci-fi RPG that's like, you know, that is capitalizing on where the industry has moved since like their last game, which I guess would be Fallout 76 or Fallout 4, right? So yeah, really really excited. I think that one, what do you guys think about Elder Scrolls? We got that teaser in 2019. Do we think there's going to be, does anyone have any predictions on that?
I do. It's on my list. I think that we're going to be seeing a title because we're still waiting on where it's
Right?
going to be.
Yeah.
We're going to see a extended trailer, and we're going to see gameplay with a release date of next year.
Ooh, wow.
Elder Scrolls 6.
Adam just shakes his head. Next year. Yeah, that would be, I don't think next year.
So
Yeah, that's my spice for that one, because we're seeing it next year. That one's a
I
little
mean-
far-fetched on the date, but I think we see everything else that I was mentioning there. Absolutely.
I hope so. I think it's going to be absent this year, but I hope it's there because I really want to see what they're going to do with an Elder Scrolls 6. Because all we got, you know, we got that sort of just picture and sort of like half title, not like the full title. And they're basically just like, yes, we are working on it, and that's all we got.
Yep.
And so I don't think there's going to be enough for them to show here, especially since they're sharing the stage with Xbox. Like it's not like they get their own presentation. So I with all the stuff that I'm sure Xbox wants to show, I don't know that there's enough time to show an Elder Scrolls 6 when they, you know, probably don't have a lot of it
2 hours.
developed yet. It is 2 hours.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So maybe like an hour a piece. Even still, might be a little bit of a squeeze, but I hope it's there.
Yeah, it's hard to say because you think of like what else is going on with Bethesda, and you kind of think of like Microsoft too, and I don't know.
Bethesda has a lot of stuff that they're working on right now, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no,
Wow.
for sure,
Kinda
for
like-
sure. But I sorry, the thought I was gonna finish off was just like Skyrim being that kind of fantasy RPG. It's like what else? Like, you know, at Microsoft they have. I'm sure. I don't want to like jump into anyone's predict, but like, you know, Fable or like Avowed, like those are two kind of Xbox Game Studio games that are fantasy like. So I think those are like more. I see the likelihood of those kind of being in this year's E3, whereas like maybe that's next year for Elder Scrolls.
So
but
almost taking a step back to let the Fable fantasy take front stage, as opposed to having Elder Scrolls also staring us in
Yeah.
the face as a fantasy game.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
That'd make some sense.
Yeah, I think we would maybe see Fable before we see Elder Scrolls 6, because I mean, how long has it been since the Fable rumors started kicking up again? That was like what, 2016,
It was the
2017?
same time that Halo Infinite was announced. The new Fable was announced, because they're both coming to Game
And-
Pass too.
Yes, but there
there
were
was rumors, like I know exactly what you're talking about, Adam, because I remember hearing them years ago at this point. I think you're right, 2016,
Yeah.
2017. It was like, and it was like Playground Games was being attached to Fable way back then, and it was like for years went by, and it was just like, I don't know. And then last year it was like we got that announcement. It was like, oh shit, it's real. So yeah, I don't know.
Is that whenever the Twitter went down? Like somebody got a Twitter underneath their name for Fable, and then also maybe some trademarks or something like that was happening. some trademarking
Maybe
Yeah,
there
there
was
was
the
some of that.
acquisition there where they, yeah, like you said, Luke, where they got Playground Games, and I think even before they acquired that studio, I think Fable was kind of being mentioned or
Yeah.
talked about. My hair's doing this weird flippy thing. Um, yeah, so it's been in the rumor mill for quite some time, and then it did officially get announced last year. So yeah, I think that would come out before Elder Scrolls 6. So yeah, I think there's enough stuff going on between Ubisoft and or not Bethesda and Xbox that they could let Elder Scrolls sit this one out.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for it to be there, of course.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But
Please.
I am interested going back to that game I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, Avowed by Obsidian. We got a trailer for last year. It was short. I don't even know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but that game looked very kind of Skyrim-esque to me, and kind of like I'm wondering of like this is like next gen Xbox, right? They got this whole new pile of studios. They got all these brand new IPs announced, yet to be announced. Like they have this Game Pass platform that like there's going to be games developed specifically for that. So I'm curious into like what some of these games turn out to be in terms of like their capacity, right? Like not capacity, what is the word I'm looking like in terms of their scale, sorry. Like is it going to be these Game Pass games, are they going to be like a kind of $30 experiences, or are they going to continue to be like these, several hour games that are worth $60 or something like that? So like, I think that's always the interest I have with Xbox and E3 is like their Game Pass is like their foundation of everything they announce. And so like now this is like the first big thing where Xbox Series X has been released. Like what is that, how is that going to play in with Bethesda games, with their first party games and stuff like that? Did you guys have any more Bethesda ones specifically that you wanted to mention? No? Okay. So before I wanted to move on to Xbox, but before I did that, I wanted to ask you guys a quick question that I just thought of. Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop, both Bethesda games, are they shown during this event on Saturday? Now, keep in mind that they have an exclusivity deal with PlayStation, Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. So, will they be shown attached to a Microsoft event, or do they totally just not even mention either of those games? What do we think?
There's a part of me that wants to say yes, they'll do it, because Phil Spencer and Xbox never really holds back on sort of the cross-play and everybody's playing video games. It doesn't matter which console it is, that sort of thing. Obviously, they prefer that you play stuff on Xbox. I think just because Bethesda Showcase, and that's a lot of time to fill, I think we see them. I think we see Deathloop in there. I think we see the Ghostwire Tokyo. I don't see why. The only reason is if I can't even think of a reason why they wouldn't, other than the console war, and that would be it. And I know Phil's not like a big console war kind of guy, so my take is we should. I don't see why we wouldn't. I don't see why we wouldn't see them.
Fair enough.
So that's really a tough one, but I mean, at the end of the day, like they want to make money, right? So I think they show it because this is a way for them to sell these games. And also, I think if they have the terms of the exclusivity like in writing somehow, and they're allowed to talk about it or whatever, so let's say it's a year or let's say it's 6 months, they can still use that as a way to plug, oh, and by the way, it'll be on Xbox Game Pass 6 months after it releases on PlayStation products. So it's a way for them to still be like, you could buy it, on launch day, but if you wait, it's going to be on Game Pass. So you can get it there and pay no extra.
Right. Yeah, I was just interested because it's like a weird situation now as we like kind of go into this Microsoft owning Bethesda and Bethesda being a company that has put games on all the platforms pretty much. Like, there's been several podcasts out there talking about exclusivity when it comes to Bethesda games and are they only going to be on Xbox? But, you know, I I don't think we're going to it's too early to see that, right? Like a lot of these games and projects were already in the works before that acquisition. I think that's, in the years down the line, but I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on that cuz it's a new situation that we haven't really experienced for a while, right? Is this company that, the only another example of that I a couple weeks ago that popped up, PlayStation copyrighting the trademark for Sunset Overdrive, right? Like, just like taking over IPs that were traditionally on another console. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how Bethesda works now that like they're officially a part of that, and do they really pair them with Microsoft under that like Xbox family, or do they really try to make it like this is our like Bethesda pillar, this is our Xbox pillar? Like that's what I'm interested in seeing on Saturday or Sunday, is like their formatting around that. It's going to be interesting, but traditionally like Bethesda, their press conferences has been really good. So I think like it's just like their typical announcements and reveals of games are just going to go really natural with how Xbox is like very transparent on things. And so yeah, I guess we'll see if those two games make an appearance. But moving on to Microsoft now, Xbox is specifically not so much the Bethesda side, but more of the Microsoft side. So what do you guys got for that?
You gotta pick which one. Wait, did you give a prediction? Did you give a prediction for your Bethesda?
Yeah. Well, I was just, mine was the Starfield gameplay reveal, but releasing in 2022.
Okay, I'm just trying to keep note of these things so we can pick a winner.
Yeah, that's a good call.
2022. Okay. I guess since I let off on Ubisoft and Bethesda, I'm gonna go ahead and oh man, I've got two for Microsoft. I'm just trying to think. The one that I have is probably very unlikely, very very unlikely. So I'll go the one that's a little bit more likely. Is Halo Infinite shows up. We see multiplayer. We also get a beta very soon, within the summer, and this comes out this fall.
Okay. Yeah,
Seems reasonable.
yeah, mine was very safe too. I'm just gonna say it now because it's almost identical. It's like, yeah, Halo Infinite. It gets a lengthy kind of gameplay trailer similar to last year, but the visuals are much more, or have been overhauled compared to last year's showing. And the game is gonna release specifically in October. I'm calling it right now, October, alongside, this is the spicy take on it, alongside a special edition Series X.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
like
that
it.
too.
I was waiting
like
for you to get real spicy and say the next version of Kinect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
God, the Kinect. No, my super spicy one, the one that's highly unlikely, is Final Fantasy 14 for the Xbox Series X and S. I would love to see it happen, but it's just it won't happen. I don't know why. It's primed, but
it probably never, but I will say with those like Final Fantasy games coming to Game Pass and like Xbox constantly trying to like have a presence in like the Japanese market, like I think like, I don't know, I think that would be awesome if they could like,
they work so well together for Outriders, and everything went so well. They got the bugs fixed out of it, went straight to Game Pass. Like I feel like that relationship that they grew with that game, I think it very easily could carry over to bring in Final Fantasy in. 11 was on the 360.
Mm-hmm.
Give us 14 on there, I'm sorry, I totally took over with Final Fantasy 14 talk,
no, it's to be expected.
No Man's Sky.
How about you, Adam?
So I did not do anything with Halo because I knew that was going to be a popular choice. Also that low hanging fruit. So uh, mine is sort of generic, but I found a way to sort of make it a little bit more focused or maybe a little bit easier to track for the sheet. So mine is that Xbox is gonna show off a new IP that's gonna have wide audience appeal. So it's not gonna be like, think for instance, we had that year where what was that game called? Grounded was announced,
Hmm.
and people just kind of groaned like, like, so like that wouldn't count. But something with general audience appeal that most people are going to see this and be like, oh, cool, look at this new thing Xbox is showing.
Okay.
So it's a little general, but I think they're due for like a new IP that's gonna kind of wow people.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking with Microsoft, like with them coming, and Luke had mentioned this with the Series X and S has been launched. We've got this brand new console now. They've got a whole bunch of studios under wing. I was kind of feeling the same way, but I didn't know how to quantify it like you did. Just kind of this generally great new IP that they're going to be bringing around. And I think that's a really good. It's something to compete with the Horizons or the God of Wars, right? They've got to have
Yep.
that one title. I get what you're putting down there, and I like it. I really like it.
Yeah, it's like the one thing about E3 predictions, right? Of like you're trying to come up, but like most of the stuff that we're going to be really excited for has not been like we don't know about it yet, right? Like we're just trying to make
Mhm.
predictions based off rumors or things that have been announced. So that I like that prediction a lot because it's like, yeah, sure, it might be broad or whatever, but um, like you said, you don't know what the reception is. So like I like that addition to it. Do you have any specific like yeah, you don't have to put it down to one developer because that's very specific. But do you have like a group of developers that you think it's going to come from?
I no, I don't. What I would hope it would be is maybe an RPG of some kind.
Right.
Because I feel like that's a genre that's just sorely lacking on Xbox.
Yeah.
So I'd love it to be an RPG or something out of the norm, right? Like there's so many like first person shooters on there,
Hmm.
so many like sports racing, all that sort of stuff. Like I would like to see something that's not typical
Yeah.
Xbox.
Like kind of outside the pro gamer realm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that would be cool. Um, so my next E3 uh, prediction. There we go. There was a game revealed by Ninja Theory. Um, not last year. I think it was 2019 called Project Mara, and it was this really impressive uh just like visual showcase because it didn't really show a lot of like what this game is. It was basically like this announcement of like Project Mara is a game about like dealing with mental health and it was very vague.
Oh
And
yeah, wasn't that super like cinematic and realistic
yeah,
looking?
like it was like
Yeah.
it looked like just like real life. Like it just like it looked
Mhm.
photorealistic. So yeah, like you go on Google, Google image Project Mara, and you can find some screenshots and take a look at that teaser just to see what I'm talking about. But I think we're
Yeah, I
gonna
forgot
get
about that.
yeah, I think we're gonna get this looks because it's like it's touching on mental health, a serious topic. It seems to be really pushing the limits in terms of its graphics and stuff. So I think this is Ninja Theory's like obviously Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade 2 is kind of their main project, but this other project that I'm sure B Team is working on, like I think this is something to keep an eye on and to even if it is maybe a 5 hour game or maybe a smaller experience, like I like this is what I'm really interested in seeing what this thing is. And now that we're in next gen with these really impressive pieces of hardware, what does Project Mara look like running on these consoles, right? So yeah, I kind of hope to see that one. I was intrigued by it during its teaser trailer, and Ninja Theory had a lot of success with Hellblade, and they seem to be on track with the second one. Like I think this is going to like Ninja Theory is going to be Xbox's Naughty Dog or their Insomniac. Like they're going to be that studio that they can count on to push out like some really awesome narrative experiences. So yeah, I just it's going to be shown in some capacity. I don't think I can specify gameplay or but we're just going to see more of it, but it's not going to have any sort of release date attached to it.
I completely forgot about this game.
Yeah,
Completely
Yeah.
forgot.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, that was a good call out.
Really good pull.
yeah.
Yep.
And the only reason I thought is because it was one of those trailers I saw that was like, okay, make mental note of this game because it's
Yeah,
obviously very impressive. So,
this was a Game Awards announcement from 2019.
oh
is when
wow,
this one showed up. Yeah,
yeah,
and I think you kind of found a gem that I was not even considering. This is really good.
yeah. And you know what I'm interested like this is obviously probably going to come after Hellblade, like I said, with that one already having been announced. But Hellblade wasn't that not announced at Game Awards 2019 or yeah, I think it was. So
Yeah,
it's
I think
like
it was.
so it's like two games. I don't know. I don't know which one's gonna come first. I would assume Hellblade, but who knows? Um, okay. Who wants to go next?
Go ahead, Adam. I'm working on our list
All right. So
format here right now.
so my next one is sort of a multi-parter. So I mean, we can do this as like an all or nothing if we want, whatever works. But so I'm kind of skipping ahead to Square Enix, and I am predicting that every Final Fantasy title that's in production is shown. So Final Fantasy Origin, Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2, and Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker trailer.
Damn.
Because
Dude.
for those that maybe weren't paying attention at FanFest or missed it, it's a perfect opportunity to show off your trailer for your big MMO. And yeah, news in some capacity for each one of these games, but every Final Fantasy game that's known in production will get some sort of spotlight.
I love it. I love it. I hope it happens.
Me too. I mean, they
Piggybacking-
claim there's going to be back-to-back news, so
and they kind of gave us a short list on what they're going to be having there, just some minor things that they're getting. And then there's like this blurb that they have on their site that says plus much more sort of deal, right? So I in heart I'm with you there. My mind's not, the logic isn't there for me, and we'll get into that a little bit later with my predictions. But
Oh,
I
go
was going
ahead.
to say, I'm going to piggyback off that a little bit and just say that Final Fantasy 16 gets a full-blown plot trailer and some gameplay, along with a release date at E3 this year. That's where I'm going with it to kind of go along with you. But if all of that Final Fantasy stuff, because I do have Final Fantasy Origin as one of my backups to at least see that at E3, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is going to be the trickiest one, but man, if they really want to like
Man,
knock people's socks off, like
that'd be wild.
and don't get me wrong, like 16 would get a lot of people hyped, but I think
Sure.
7 Remake Part 2 would be just an absolute like smash.
Yeah, well, especially like what's it called? It just released today, right? The
Intergrade
Intergrade,
tomorrow,
right? So or
as of this recording,
Right.
it's tomorrow.
okay, so yeah, like it's in the conversation. People like I saw it trending on Twitter today, so it's like that would be a great time to bring up FF7 remake again, especially because we
Exactly.
have not we don't know when is this like what's the last time we heard on it? It's been a while, right? So like even yeah, like I don't know, like I would love for that. I think like if it shows up, it might just be like a rehash of that, and then also like oh, and it's coming to PC and Xbox like this fall or something like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it could just very well be strictly like some sort of cinematic trailer,
Yeah.
like nothing. You know, think like when the original Final Fantasy VII remake trailer came out. Like it wasn't really anything, right? It was
Mhm.
just, you know, you kind of had the music, you had the city, you had walking through Wall Market. Like there really wasn't a whole lot there. And I think, you know, this would be the same way. It
Mhm.
wouldn't be gameplay, no plot deep dives or anything like that. It would just be, you know, at most a cinematic trailer.
Yeah.
You know what'd be cool is if they if you haven't beat Final Fantasy VII Remake, fast forward 30 seconds. But if starting now, if they showed off like some sort of tease to like the new additions that came to the first part or whatever, just like something that was like alluded to, like really hit you Final Fantasy fans, but like alluded to something that's like, whoa, like that wasn't in the original game. Like I want like a moment like that. I want like whatever like the part 2 reveal to be, to like emphasize more on the ending of that, and like not so much of like, okay, this is the continuation of like, but that new addition to the remake of like, yeah, just like doing a crazy tease. Like it would just be so hype, right? Like
Right. So like
yeah,
they do that same, they fill it with nostalgia, the things that we know from
yeah,
you know, maybe the Midgard Zolom giant snake is out there, but then there's some sort of divergent path that we notice because of what
yeah.
occurred
Something that's like, oh, I don't
in
recognize
the
this, but
first part.
like
I would
it's
love it.
alluding to like, yeah, the unknown.
Like,
So yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
dangle the carrot. Like we
yeah,
know something's changing, dangle the carrot
yeah,
for us a little
exactly,
bit.
yeah,
Yeah, and they are drawing I think some stuff from other games. Like I believe with Intergrade there's some stuff from like Dirge Cerberus in there, and stuff from like other parts of the Final Fantasy VII universe are showing up already.
right.
So yeah, I think it, yeah, it very well could be that we start seeing some of that new stuff
Hmm.
creeping in.
So just to piggyback off of you guys, because I do have a Final Fantasy 16 prediction on mine. So my official prediction for that is Final Fantasy 16 plot, yeah, a mixture of gameplay and cinematic in the trailer. And here it is. It's going to release this November. Or wait, not this November. That's my other prediction there. It's going to release next spring. Final
Oh,
Fantasy
wait,
16.
say this again. Well,
So Final Fantasy 16, it's going to have like a big showing of a mixture of gameplay as well as like plot and kind of the story, and it's going to release in spring of 2022.
okay. I would be down for that.
I would be too. I don't know if it will happen, but
Yeah.
I want your prediction to happen. I do.
Mhm.
I think like, yeah, I misspoke there. November was for my other prediction
You're
here,
about to
but
blow me out of my seat.
yeah, no, it's for the one right above it. But you know, like that would be too soon. I think spring 2022 is pretty soon too. But I just like the way I see it is like we saw a pretty good chunk of Final Fantasy 16 at last year's Sony presentation, right? Like it wasn't a tease. It wasn't like Final Fantasy 16 in development. Like we got to see characters in the world and like, you know, so like I just see like, okay, they're showing a lot more of that than they have of like the remake of 2. So like spacing wise, I think if they could like release it in the same spot, like a April, you know, that Final Fantasy remake launched in April 22 spot, and then maybe they get that part 2 at the end of the year, or you know, spring 2023. It's hard to say, but I do think 16 will for sure come before part 2. That's my prediction.
So I don't think you're going to be too far off on this, because the way it worked with Endwalker, and Yoshi P's working on the game, same as what he's working with Final Fantasy 14. They announced the Endwalker trailer. I think they first showed the first trailer. I want to say February. No,
February.
February.
February sounds about right. Yeah.
Releasing expansion this fall. So if we get something big from 16, like I don't think you're very far off on them being able to get us this game early next year.
Mhm.
And I like it. I want it to happen. If there was ever a prediction on this list that I would love to will into existence, it's
Yeah.
this one, Luke. Let's start talking about it in the Discord.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I think it's plausible. Like it's like it would be a get hype announcement for me because like as you know, like I've been really into Final Fantasy recently, and I enjoyed 15. Like I love 7 remake. Like it would just be awesome to like get into that. And I think it's plausible for this spring or up next spring. So what else you guys got for Square?
A lot, but I want to save some of my other ones too. I want to breeze over the remainder of my list, but I don't want to go into any detail on it because I don't want it to count as one of my predictions for my 5. But Project Triangle Strategy shows up and we get an actual title. Outriders DLC is going to happen. Final Fantasy Origin is going to be shown trailer and gameplay. And
So
that's
let
kinda
me
where
ask
I'm
you
at for
this:
Square.
do you think Project Triangle Strategy, are they just going to drop the project like they did with Octopath Traveler? Is it just going to be
Probably.
called Triangle
Yeah.
Strategy?
It'll just end up being Triangle Strategy, and
What a track
I
record.
didn't. Yeah, I almost went with it, like saying that it's going to get a release date or something like that, but I'm not. I'm kind of just sitting on that one. But it was in my general list. I went more into 16 for what I was going to go for prediction, which is trailer and release date. And then kind of everything else we're definitely gonna see there, I feel. So Outriders DLC just seems like a perfect opportunity because the game needs one now. I
Yeah.
think it's time for it. Because I know that I kind of lost track of it as soon as I hit the end game because I wasn't playing with friends. So like giving me a story to go back to the game on it's gonna help me out with playing the game again. So so I'm gonna take us into Nintendo.
Okay, go for it.
I believe that this year at E3 that we get a Metroid Prime trilogy collection.
Yes.
Yes.
Will it happen this year?
I think it's gonna happen.
Okay.
I think with the culmination of the Super Nintendo Switch, that's going to be piled on as well. I think that this is going to be the right piece of equipment for them to have to give us something gorgeous out of the Metroid Prime series. I don't want to say 4. I would love to see it, and I hope somebody has a spicy prediction for it, but I'm definitely leaning hard on the Metroid Prime collection.
Okay. Yeah, I made that exact prediction last year because that rumors for the Prime trilogy making its way to Switch have been around for a while, and man, yeah, it just
Been
sounds
raging
like
for a while.
yeah,
Mhm.
it sounds like it's just like cash it in at the bank. Like it's a sell, right? It's perfect
is.
for the prep of like 4's coming out soon. All those fans get revisit, you know, the first 3 games. All those people that never played the first 3 games can visit it for the first time, jump into the 4th one when it releases. It's just like, why won't you do it? Like, it just like, it seems like it would print money. It's like one of those Nintendo like recipes for like ultimate success that just is like, why hasn't it happened yet, you know?
It's what
So
they do
my-
best. They give us the old stuff, right?
Yeah.
Slap a new
Yeah.
or a new picture on top of it and put a $70, $60, $70 price tag on it. We buy it. Like,
Yeah.
please, Nintendo, listen. Take my money again
Mhm.
for these same games.
So that's, I think my thinking with the Metroid Prime trilogy is that they were waiting till Metroid Prime 4 can be released within about a year
Right.
of the trilogy. So if they come out, they announce it at E3 this year, and they say, okay, well, this is, fall of this year, whatever.
Mhm.
Then I think that means Metroid Prime 4 is going to be coming out fall of 22. That would be my thinking, is give people a year to get through that trilogy, get all caught up, and then we can release our next big thing.
Is that your Nintendo prediction?
That's not a prediction, no.
Okay.
But that's just, I'm kind of just going off of what you said. I think
Yeah.
that's why it hasn't come out yet, is because they want Prime 4 to be within reasonable distance
Mhm.
of the trilogy releasing, so that it's still fresh in people's minds when
Right.
it comes out.
Yeah.
Sort of a Mass Effect Legendary Edition versus Mass Effect 4, which we'll probably see at EA Play, and we'll talk about predictions for that obviously later. But I get what you're putting down there. I like it. I like it.
So how many? I've lost count of how many official. Steven? Do you have a count of how many official predictions I've
You
done?
and I are at 5 right
Oh,
now.
okay, we are at 5. Okay.
I've
and
only done
Adam's
3.
Adam's at 3.
So I mean, I guess I can do my next one then.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
So on the flip side, like I think you're probably right with the trilogy thing. This is maybe a little bit more spicy, but I want to kind of will this into existence and say that maybe in addition to, I'm not saying that it has to be one or the other, but I am predicting a new 2D Metroid being
Ooh,
announced
That would be
at
awesome.
E3. Yeah.
that would be cool.
And
Yep. And
does
not
having-
not like a remake like they did with what was it, Metroid 2, Samus Returns or whatever.
Yeah.
Brand new 2D Metroid.
that would be awesome. What was the last 2D Metroid that came out?
It was that remake.
Yeah.
That remake, right, for the 3DS. Yeah.
What was it? It was the Metroid for the Game Boy, and they
It was the
remade
Game
it.
Boy
Is that?
one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Metroid 2 from Game Boy they remade.
That was
Which
a
I guess
hard
maybe
game.
they got tired of all the fan made Metroid 2 remakes that people were doing, and they what they did, they cease and desist a whole bunch of those, and
Yeah.
one of them I think was multiple times.
Mm.
So they were like, you know what, we're just gonna do our own. And from what I understand, it wasn't nearly as good as AM2R.
It's usually
A
the case
fan-made
with
game.
those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like the thing, it's just like there's 3 Metroid pillars there, right? With 4, the trilogy, and then the 2D. Like those are all things that I've seen kind of thrown out over the years. The 2D, especially, even at like smaller like directs, like early first quarter, fourth quarter direct presentations, not like their main E3 one. Do we get a 2D Metroid? I would love that because I never like I've played 2D Metroid games, but I never really had the accessibility to like them. So yeah, I would love like, and the thing is like 2D games now in 2021 are just like they're incredible, right? They're so innovative in how that genre has like expanded, and I just think like it would be awesome to like have that on a Switch. Like that experience pairs perfectly, a handheld console, like yeah. I would yeah.
It's not a lost form to gaming.
Yeah.
2D. You know what I mean? Even with all these glorious games with their fantastic graphics, and they blow you out of the seat with the cinematics and all that business, like 2D is still
Mhm.
producing. They're still producing some really great games out of that format. So yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, well why don't you do your last one then, Adam, your 5th one?
Yeah. Which one do I want to do? It's more Nintendo. I doubled up on Nintendo because that's the one that just speaks to me most. And I guess since nobody has used it, I'm gonna say Breath of the Wild 2 is announced, gameplay and release date for when is this gonna come out? Everyone thinks it's gonna be the end of this year, but we all thought that last year too. I'm gonna do it. It comes out this year.
Nice, okay.
Comes out this year
I like it.
with the Switch Pro or Super Nintendo Switch.
Special edition one probably too, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm surprised nobody took that. I mean, I had it there. I figured it was kind of one of those low-hanging fruit situations, but since nobody used it, I figured why not?
It was on my list. And breezing over my list, I was like, because I did multiples just in case like anything came out between now and recording for any spoilers or whatever you guys would choose or anything like that. So I had backups, and it's one of my backups on here.
Yeah, my backup here was Splatoon 3 Deep Dive at the Treehouse with a beta announcement.
Gotcha.
That was a
pretty good.
backup. That was a backup.
Yeah.
I almost said that anyway because I'm actually pretty excited for Splatoon 3. So
It'll be a good time.
pretty hype.
Yeah, I had that exact same one in my list too, but I didn't make it a official one. But just because, like, yeah, there's so many rumors, it seems like it's got to be real. Like Breath of the Wild's alongside Switch Pro. I really hope it is this fall. I could see it like being like a early spring situation. Like, do they release the Switch Pro around the same time they release the Switch in March or something like that? Like, that is a possibility, but I don't know. Everything's kind of pointing to the end of this year, so let's hope. But
All right. Question for you guys.
Yeah.
So now that we've got all 5, so we've been mentioned we have other things on our list.
Mythical games and freedom games.
Who are they, and do you have any idea on what they're going to be showing us?
mythical games and freedom games.
Doesn't
Yeah.
ring a bell.
They're on Monday.
I don't know if y'all saw Capcom's doing a thing too.
Yeah.
On Capcom, I have
Monday.
Capcom predictions.
Oh,
do have
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I was prepping for this initially, Capcom hadn't like had the official announcement, and I was gonna add it, but I wasn't sure. So I do have some Capcom ones as well, but
And since I have no idea what they're up to these days, my easy one for Capcom was Monster Hunter Rise DLC is going to be coming.
Mm.
And then I was like, maybe because it's been a long time, but I know there's some drama mixed up with it. But I was like, what about Mega Man? Like, wouldn't it be great to see a Mega Man show up with Capcom and them give us a new Mega Man game? That would be really cool because
Could
it's been a
be.
bop since those too. So
It
but
could
I think
also be, people have wanted remakes of some of the sort of spin-off games like Battle Network. People have wanted like remakes or new versions of that. So maybe if it's not even like classic Mega Man, it could be one of those or both.
Yeah.
Who knows? I would love to see some Mega Man though. I would really like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah, my Capcom one was Resident Evil 4 remake, which would be
Which
really
you basically already played
Yeah.
with your texture pack.
yeah, my
and,
texture mod and
field of view.
mod and power of PC gaming. Yeah, no, I think it like obviously makes sense of like RE2 remake, RE3 remake, but like RE Village that just launched and was very well received is like so much RE4. RE4 is also like the most probably well loved game in the series. It is also just got an announcement for a VR version. Like it just like they're killing it with Resident Evil right now. Like if they announced it here, this would just like totally capitalize on that momentum they've already made of like pumping out RE games every single year. So that are good. So I would really love to see that. And then my other Capcom one was a new Marvel versus Capcom game, and the one that I is never probably going to happen is like a Dead Rising reboot, but not. This is where it gets interesting because Dead Rising is like zombies, duh, but like a reboot similar to God of War, but like just like reinventing the franchise in a new, innovative way that isn't like a typical zombie apocalypse. You need to kill a bunch of zombies in creative ways. Like taking that IP and maybe doing something different with it. I don't know. But
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Because that was another one that I think Dead Rising was a ton of fun. I was going back through on stream one day my Xbox trophy list, and that game came up, and I was just like, it immediately went back to the good memories of running around that dang mall, picking up orange juice,
yeah.
and, running the truck through the parking garage so you could get the achievement for killing 10,000 zombies.
God, what a
Yeah.
game.
What a game indeed. That's a good one. I like that. How about Bandai Namco? You guys got anything for them?
Some fighting game, probably. maybe a Warriors type game, right? Don't they do like Hyrule Warriors?
Yeah, I think they're in those ones like Samurai Warrior or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Are
You know
they?
where I went with it?
Maybe something like that.
What's that, Luke?
Sorry, I was just gonna ask. Are they publishing Elden Ring like?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
that's
are.
Elden Ring.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So
Bandai
that
Namco is
I
Elden Ring.
think, yeah, I think Elden Ring's gonna be shown. We are gonna see it this like next week.
That'd be-
We'll. I'm hoping. I'm hoping, man. Oh
Well,
my gosh.
The meme will end. The meme's gonna end this weekend.
I
Be
hope.
awesome.
Oh,
that's a spicy
it is a
take,
little spicy. Yeah.
because
So-
man, is that game ever really coming out?
Right.
But
So
yeah, you're right. I mean, it would get published by them. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
it would just
looking
be
at that. I
weird
was
to
like,
not
maybe.
see it at like Xbox though. I would because wasn't it announced at an Xbox?
You know, I think you're right,
Okay.
Adam. I think it was shown on the Xbox stage 2019. Yeah, you might be right on that.
I guess it would come down to if they're gonna have it on multiple systems.
Yeah, and like it could be one of those things where like we've seen previous of like here's like a very short snippet at this conference and here's like a bigger look like when you talk
Yeah,
about
like
Square or
tune in to Bandai
Yeah,
Namco's presentation on
exactly.
Tuesday.
for
Right.
a deeper dive on Elden Ring's
Right.
plot or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Could be. Yep.
So for my Bandai Namco, I saw Elden Ring, but I decided to go real immature with mine. Katamari.
Ooh.
Give me a
Ooh.
Katamari, right?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
I would love that.
like
Yeah, that'd be
that would
great.
be awesome. I would love to see a Katamari come out of Bandai.
That'd be really good.
Well, because
You should have made that one of your officials.
I almost did. I
That's
was
yeah.
and then I stopped at Nintendo. I was like, because I was staring really hard at that Bandai Katamari one.
Yeah.
I was like, but it's there. It's on my list.
Well, and the last Katamari game was a remake, wasn't it?
It was a remake.
It
They had
was,
it on the
yeah.
Switch.
It
Yeah.
was a ton of fun. God, it was a blast. It was so good.
Yeah, that and-
Luke,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just, well, it's sort of off topic. I'm just kind of thinking back over the ones that we said, and I know you specifically mentioned it earlier, but I'm a little surprised that still a little surprised that you didn't predict Splinter Cell, because I think you predicted that last year.
I'm pretty
And
sure
I'm
I
a
predicted
little-
it every year for the
Yeah.
last like
I'm a little surprised that didn't show up for you.
The reason
Well,
why
there's the whole thing right now, right, where they're doing like a whole big crossover game, aren't they, with Splinter Cell and some other like, isn't that already out in the mix? And in the
well,
works right now?
the
Is
the
that-
joke is Splinter Cell has been in like in the last like 5 years, like he's been on almost every Ubisoft game, but his own. So it's
Mhm.
like he
making cameos and stuff.
yeah, like he's been in some mobile games. He was in like a
Mhm.
Ghost Recon. He was in maybe The Division. I don't know. Like he like their main IPs, like their main military shooter stuff. Like he's made appearances in, but I don't know. Like I thought about going for that one, but it's just like you know when you make the same prediction year after year after year, and it's just you're disappointed. It's like, well, maybe this year if I don't predict it, this will be the year it's actually announced. So that's kind of I'm trying to use some like reverse psychology this year, Adam, and like hope that it works out for me and we can do that. And let me tell you, I would be hyped because I'm playing a ton of Hitman right now. Like I'm obsessed with that game, and I'm not typically a stealth guy, but like I'm really interested in stealth right now, and playing Horizon, replaying Horizon, doing some Hitman. Like yeah, that like stealth is like a genre that it doesn't have a huge following compared to some other big genres, but there's not a lot out there, and ever since like Metal Gear kind of died out, it's like where's the spy espionage games, you know, like really it's just kind of Hitman sitting out there. So I think that's an opportunity that Ubisoft like could capitalize. Like there's a space in the market for it, as well as, you know, the fan reception would be unreal.
So
And I completely agree. Like right now, I think everything is prime for a Splinter Cell game. Everybody wants it. We've got the new systems. You can
Mhm.
really do really good things with ray tracing and lighting with one of
God,
those
yeah.
stealthy type games. Your fast frame rates, like it would be gorgeous. It would be a great thing to play.
What I was speaking on is 2 days ago, PC Gamer, somebody had leaked that a Splinter Cell, Division, and Ghost Recon mashup FPS is rumored to be in development right now. And that's the only thing that was kind of holding me up from saying just blatant Splinter Cell, is I wanted to see if there was going to be anything about this particular monstrosity that they're putting together, if that's going to be what's going to be going down. But I think, yeah, like they're so primed for Splinter Cell. It's time. Like this has been something I think people have been demanding for such a long time, to the point that it's gone beyond just the fans of the series, where it's like somebody give us this game. Right? So yeah, good one.
I think Ubisoft, like, it would be smart for them to do that, because you look at their IPs and they have like some in the fantasy, and they have some in like more like I said, the military shooter type of genre, and like they have these like franchises that kind of cross over, and yeah, it makes sense for them to do that with Splinter Cell. If they want to kind of like pair it to something, they could. I also think like they again, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but like Assassin's Creed could do something similar to that with like Prince of Persia, of like, let's set an Assassin's Creed game in Persia, and like then we're kind of like catering to two audiences, and it's like making the pool of people bigger. Like I just think Ubisoft is one company that just has so many IPs at their disposal for that. So yeah, Splinter Cell I think is one, but it is a touchy subject. They've received hate for, putting Sam Fisher in other IPs before. So if they do that, I think they need to have like the emphasis be on the Splinter Cell IP and less on the other ones, but make it all kind of in the same kind of Tom Clancy universe or whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Bonus ones.
Bonus ones. Yeah. So Adam, why don't you explain what our bonus ones here? We have a couple bonus predictions that we wanted to make.
So yeah, the one is the for the kind of funny fans, they know the Gatorade Get Hype, announcement, the thing that's probably not going to happen, but still plausible. And if it did, you would be just super hype. Steven, I think you said you wanted to try and rebrand that, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm rebranding mine. I'm not going to
Okay.
be the Gatorade Get Hype moment over here. I gotta rebrand for mine. You guys can still do the Gatorade Get Hype because you're big kind of funny fans, but I'm gonna brand out mine in a little bit of a different way. We'll see if you want to take it on. It's up to you. I'll let you. It's free game, but I got you.
The other one is the basically the impossible. The thing that's just, it's literally not going to happen. The Gatorade Get Hype is plausible, could happen in a million years. This other one is just not going to happen in a million years. So, but it's something that you would just absolutely lose your mind. You would die. You would cry. You'd do all the things if it came to fruition.
All right.
So,
Okay.
Steven, why don't I want to hear what you're rebranding the thing.
Yeah.
So maybe you should give us yours first.
My
Is it the Dr. Pepper Get Hype?
My Dr. Pepper power-up point is a Snap and/or Sword and Shield gets new DLC.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to be super hyped about it, because and here's why. It's like it's likely, but I don't think it's going to happen, and it's because they've got a lot of Pokemon business happening right now with Legends and with the remakes that are be coming out later this year. I'm not seeing that Snap and Sword and Shield kind of being on the forefront of getting new content, but I would love it if they did, especially Snap. I would love to get back into that. And of course, Sword and Shield. I mean, any of the current Pokemons that they're running right now, if they gave us DLC for it, like I'm back into the world again, all over again, trying to fill up the Pokédex or the Photodex, finding more Bidoof, that sort of stuff. But that's my Dr. Pepper power up point.
Oh, I love that. Do you want mine now, Adam?
Whatever.
Sure, I'll give mine then. But there's a pause there, and I saw you look at me. I'm like, okay. So Sorry, what was that, Steven, that you said?
The
What?
Dr. Pepper power up point. You don't have to use it.
I
You don't
like it
have
though.
to.
I like
I
it, and
said-
it's kind of more our brandy, anyways, because like two of the three of us are obsessed with DP, so it makes sense. Okay. Actually, you know what? No, you go first, Adam, because I want to think about this because I kind of have like two, and I'm like on the fence. So you go first and let me think it over a little bit.
All right. So, it's been largely discussed, right? Zelda, this is the everyone's expecting Zelda 35-year anniversary thing. Like we had Mario 35 last year. Metroid is in the same boat, maybe a Metroid 35. Despite all that, my get hype, my Dr. Pepper power up hype moment would be a new 3D Mario game. So whether it be Odyssey 2 or something brand new, I don't know, but I would love a new 3D Mario game. And again, there's plenty of Zelda that could come out. There's plenty of Metroid that could be coming out. But I don't know. I love Odyssey so much. I would love an Odyssey 2 or something similar. I really don't want a 2D game. So I hope that's not what they bring. I definitely want a 3D Mario. So that would be the hype for sure.
I mean, that would be incredible. It was, and I think it's like, I think it's more realistic than you think because you think Odyssey came out in 2017, and that was a game that Nintendo showed off, revealed in the same year they launched a console. It was just like what, 7, 8 months later. So it was like, man, like I think the time is due. Like we need that new 3D Mario game, and yeah, if it is Odyssey 2, awesome. Love Odyssey. That would be freaking fantastic. But if they like did something brand new again with some whole new shtick or whatever, I'm sure they knock it out of the park like usual. So yeah, like especially like yeah, you talk about Zelda 35, like we just finished Mario, but we did get that 3D collection. Like a bunch of people played 3D Mario games for the first time, Sunshine, Galaxy, so it would be smart for them to do that. I think that's the right call, but with Nintendo and Metroid kind of being in the forefront of the Nintendo conversation, it's hard to see that happening, but that would be awesome. Man, I wasn't even thinking of Mario when I was thinking of these predictions, but now you just got me excited for the possibility of that, but
Yep. Perfect type of game to launch the Super Nintendo Switch with.
Yeah.
It'd be the
Yeah,
perfect thing.
it's just, it's one of those things like it's plausible, which is why I put it here,
Yeah.
not the impossible, never gonna happen type of thing. I had a more adult version of that title for that sort of prediction that I'm not gonna say here, but uh, so yeah, Mario 35 ended, and I feel like I don't know, it would just feel weird for them to come out and announce a Mario game after
yeah.
the Mario 35 thing, came and went. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the thing that makes me sort of pause a little bit and say, maybe that's not super likely. And then we have the 35-year anniversaries for Zelda and Metroid. It's like, are they going to focus mostly on those two franchises? So I feel like it's not likely to happen, but I'm sure it's in the works. I mean, I'm sure they're always working on the next Mario game. So I'm sure it's there. I just don't know that they're going to show it here, but if they did, that would be amazing.
All right.
They would win if they do Breath of the Wild 2 and a new 3D Mario game and Metroid. The way that we're thinking, Nintendo wins E3.
Well, let's hold that thought because I want to issue a question to the two of you at the end here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So my Dr. Pepper, I've already forgotten a point.
Dr. Pepper power up point.
I think we need to workshop that a little bit, but I
Dr.
love
Pepper
the
Power Up
Dr. Pepper
Point.
branding.
Yeah. I like the alliteration there. It's good. I think so. This is like a prediction I make every E3, and it's like one of those things that I would just like be ecstatic if it happened. I don't think it will happen this E3 or next E3, but I do think it is plausible. I think there is a chance this comes out at some point in time, Um, and that is like some sort of 3D collection of Zelda games. Now, when they announced Skyward Sword as a solo release, I guess coming next month, that kind of like really defeated a lot of people's like hopes for some sort of 3D collection. But even if they just did Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask collection, the 64 collection of like a complete remake of those two games, or even if it was just like Ocarina of Time remake, and then 2 years later they just started remaking some of these older games. Like I just like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, some of these older 3D Zelda games, like I hold so close to my heart, and I loved playing them on the 3DS. Like it was just like incredible. So I'm ready for like, that next batch. And I think like, you look at remakes nowadays and you look at Resident Evil and Crash Bandicoot, and just like remakes are doing some pretty impressive things these days. And if they could give me the Ocarina of Time storyline, because I just love that story in that game and everything that version of Hyrule, and give me that in Breath of the Wild engine, like just give me that in a bigger scale, add maybe some new bonuses into it, maybe some new locations that we could see in the Nintendo 64 version but we couldn't access, or something like that. Like just give me that. Like it would be awesome. You guys got your Final Fantasy 7 childhood remake, childhood favorite game remake. Like I want my childhood remake, but I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know if it's gonna happen. But I think it would. I think it's gotta happen. It's just gotta happen. But it's at the same time, it's just Nintendo is one of those things. Like whenever I make a prediction of like, it has to happen. It's like, well, Nintendo will just turn around and do something completely bonkers that you've never even thought of. So it's like, it's so hard to make predictions for them, but.
One of my Nintendo predictions that I didn't use was Nintendo gives us something we want, but not the way we want it.
Yeah.
So think like that Animal Crossing like party game or whatever that they did.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even remember but something like
On the
that.
Wii
That was
U or
one of my
whatever, yeah.
predictions, that they're gonna pull Nintendo and give us something that we want, but
Yeah.
not the way we want it.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
very
I'm
true.
like the 3D collection, Luke. I'm right there with you. I was wanting that back whenever we were getting super hyped about the first Direct in a long time, and
Mhm.
we were completely shooting for the stars. I hope so. I really do. I was leaning more into Metroid because just getting hyped for a possible Prime collection with it. But yeah, like it's just like with the 3D Marios that they regave us. Like it's an immediate day one buy for me if they make it happen, especially if it's that Nintendo 64 realm of things. Ocarina, Majora's Mask, and maybe what Twilight Princess, I think it was the other one, or something.
Wind
along those
Waker,
lines.
yeah,
Waker
yeah.
HD.
Wind Waker, yeah. So like if they give us those, I'll be extremely excited because one, it's been a long time since I've played those,
Mhm.
and based off the experience I'm having with this Mass Effect thing, like I'm in a real big like, give me the games that like give me that ability to start collecting the stuff that I used to have,
Mhm.
and that would be a big chunk of those games that I used to have, and I
Yeah.
would love to see it happen. Yeah.
I mean, like at the very like Skyward Sword is great, but it's just like even just the decision of like where is Twilight Princess and Wind Waker? Those got HD ports to the Wii U only like a couple of years before Switch came out. So it's like, and I know like I know it's not dragging like the folder across into port it over to Switch. It's not necessarily that easy, but it's just like it just is weird to me of like their decisions with some of these things of like I would have expected those to be ported over just like a lot of other Wii U games. But instead it's like, nope, we're jumping past those and we're going to the one that a lot of people don't really think is that amazing. Like it's definitely not like the favorite in the 3D games. We're given that one. It's just, yeah, it's Nintendo gonna Nintendo. Like they just do what they want and we follow along. We buy their games regardless, and the cycle continues. So, but yeah, I think Metroid, to your point, Steven, much more likely than this Zelda, but this would be the one that would get me out of my seat for sure. So,
Yeah.
All right, so the never gonna happen, Steven, I guess we'll go back to you now. What is
So
the
to
one?
to
Yeah, let's
to
hear it.
de-adult what Adam called this in our team Discord.
Yeah,
I would poop my pants. I would
yeah,
poop my pants. It's not gonna happen. I'm fully believing that this is not gonna happen anymore. I kind of shelved it for myself, but I will poop my pants if the golden age Super Nintendo RPGs find their way onto the Switch. That would be where I'm falling out of my seat and need to go to need to go get a change of pants.
yeah.
That's gonna be that
Yeah,
moment for
I
me.
think that's actually possible though. I think that's
Well,
possible. It's
why don't
maybe
we have it? Why wouldn't we have it by now?
because I don't know, they're waiting for the right time, I guess. They're doing Nintendo stuff. They're being Nintendo.
Because we get these games released on these virtual consoles that are just like, we got all the good stuff at the beginning. They gave us all
See,
the what I feel
and I
all the good
think
stuff
that's
at the beginning, and now they're trickling out crap. And I
and
don't know why we don't have these things by now if we were going to get them, and that's why I've given up hope.
maybe they're waiting. Maybe they're waiting to see if people stop like paying for the online service. And they're like, okay, we need to do something big to drum up, subscriptions again. Let's put out these golden age RPGs on there. That'll do it. Like, let's start putting out big titles again. So I think that's part of the strategy is they're holding on to some of these for like a rainy day,
Mm,
which they don't need because they're Nintendo and you know, but they don't care.
they don't care.
Yeah, that
I love you, Nintendo. It's like this. It's
I,
very.
I know, I know.
it's a
I
love
think
hate
there was a
relationship.
TikTok. There's a TikTok I was watching. Tell me about a video game that you have an abusive relationship with. It's like, let me tell you about the video game
Yeah.
company I have an abusive relationship with.
It's so true.
It's like, no matter what, I still go back to them. My longest prediction list is out of Nintendo.
Mhm.
It's just like I can't stop.
Yep.
How about you, Adam?
So I cheated and I have two. One of them would be a new entry in the Chrono Trigger series. So a direct sequel or just like another sort of like similar type of game would be the big one. And directly related to Chrono Trigger as well. Not like, we had that sort of spiritual successor in I Am Setsuna and a couple of those Tokyo RPG Factory games. Not like that, like directly influenced by Chrono Trigger, either the events, the characters, what have you. The other one I saw this come up, and I think I've heard this before, and every time I hear it, I'm like, that would be so dope. And it's not going to happen. But basically, F-Zero as like a GTA type game.
Oh man, that would be cool.
Oh, that would just slay. Oh my God.
Zero
That's like,
States.
yeah. Oh, that would be so good.
I like it.
So yeah, I cheated. I had to because I couldn't pick between the two. I'm like, they would both. They're both equally impossible, I feel like, and I would poop my pants if either one of them were announced.
You made up the category. I think 2 is okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's okay with me because I cheated too. I put 2 as well, and I kind of extra cheated because they're both technically Sony, I guess. But it was one of those things where
Definitely not gonna happen.
well, definitely not. So I'm put these in the bank, put them away for whenever PlayStation comes out. But like they're never gonna happen regardless. So they're more of just for fun. So the first one is, and you'll like this one, Steven, I'm sure, is a Jak and Daxter reboot. And by reboot I mean like we're going back to like we're not remaking Precursor Legacy. We are going back and retelling Jak and Daxter in a brand new way, but with the same characters, like a reimagining, a retelling. So, not just like none, everything from the previous games isn't canon in this new line, but you still have Jak, you still have Daxter, you still have precursor orbs, like you still have like some of the things that from Jak and Daxter. So that would be pretty cool, and maybe like less of I don't know. I kind of want it to be like more like like not adult but like darker in a sense, because like a lot of those people that played Jak and Daxter are kind of like adults now, so like how can they take that IP and like cater it to that audience? So
Mhm.
but also still like having the comedic side to it, and kind of the lighthearted friendliness of it. So that would be cool. And then here's my one prediction that I think I made it on one of the shows. I can't remember. But get this, guys, okay? Studio, Naughty Dog pairing up with Marvel, and they come out with a Wolverine game
Ooh.
to the
Ooh.
likes of like Logan. Okay, so I'm talking dark, gritty stuff, subject matter to the level of Last of Us Part 2, but in
Like mature rating
yeah,
Wolverine.
really mature
Mm.
rated Wolverine. Like this is an adult video game, not for kids. You're playing as Wolverine, and it's like this really awesome third person action game that is very Last of Us, you know, God of War type, that but you're playing as Wolverine. It's just like an original story, you know, based on maybe something that hasn't been done in the movies yet, but maybe a comic story that is really cool that's revisited in a format such as a video game. And I just think that would be awesome. And I think like Wolverine is such like a dark, gritty Marvel character, and like I'm thinking of like, okay, that's like my favorite superhero, you know, is Wolverine, and I would love a Wolverine game. So like who could do that? And I think Naughty Dog would just be like the perfect pairing for that, with like just kind of their tone that they've done with Last of Us. I think that would pair when we think of things like the movie Logan, and tying that kind of tone to Wolverine. I think that would be really, really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah.
I do too.
I just hope in general, like now that we had Spider-Man, and you know Avengers was, you know, kind of mixed reviewed, but like with this new age of Marvel and the MCU, and like Marvel's so big now, it's like I just want to see some I want to see more Spider-Mans, you know what I mean? I want to see big budget AAA superhero games that aren't just like a, you know, a Marvel versus Capcom, or a Marvel, you know, like those very double A type of Marvel games. I'm talking like give us the big IPs with the big AAA studios developing them. Like it would be awesome. So yeah, any other predictions we want to throw out here before we turn it over to the community guys, or did we get everything out that we wanted to mention?
So
Go ahead.
the prediction or question I want to ask you guys is
Oh, right.
who wins E3? So this is kind of trying to put bias aside a little bit, and who do you think is going to have the best balance of pacing, hype, quantity, quality, presentation, the one more things, like who has the best balance of that overall, just best show? Who do you think? Like who's going to come out of this with the where most people are like, okay, that was the one that did it.
I have to add this 1 second. You guys can go.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good question.
I want it to be Nintendo because I love Nintendo, but it's just one of those things like I mentioned before. I just have this sort of gut feeling that Nintendo is gonna give us things, but not the way that we want. But I mean, even if they just show like if they give us Breath of the Wild 2, they give us the Super Nintendo Switch. There's a lot of hype that they can put in there that could end up putting them over the top.
I mean, I said it. If Nintendo gives us Prime collection, Breath
Yeah.
of the Wild 2, and a 3D Mario, they win. Because on top of that, they've got the Super Nintendo Switch coming. So like you've got a pile of stuff for us there. Plus, then
They have a lot of time. I think they're another that one that's like what 3 hours. I think they're running.
So they have a 40-minute presentation, and then they have 3 hours of Treehouse.
Yeah, so they've got a pile of stuff to give us. 40 minutes is a
So
lot of time for Nintendo.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Like they're kind of pros at doing these directs. Like they're really good at pacing
Hmm.
and time and showing a lot of titles and a lot of good stuff. But they've, our last direct, if it's on that same, what was it, back January, February?
February, I
Yeah.
think.
If it's of the same caliber, like that's not an E3 winner.
Hmm.
No.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends on what they give us.
that's why I'm hesitant to say Nintendo. I want to say Nintendo, and I'm in the same boat of like that's the one I'm most hyped for, anyways. But
Mhm.
I'm gonna say Xbox and Bethesda is gonna come out as like the general consensus of like who won E3 because this is their first big time together, right? Bethesda Xbox kind of sharing a presentation together, and I think this is really going to be like an important E3 for Xbox and like just trying to, we're into the new generation now. Like last year we didn't have E3 in the traditional sense, so that lead up to their Series X, and like this is a new chapter for Xbox, and 2013 we're past that. This is the future of Xbox. Like I think this is the show that's gonna like capitalize on that message that like Phil Spencer planted back in 2017 when Game Pass came out and studio acquisitions have started to be made. Like it's all been set now. We've gotten a bunch of announcements from these studios already. We're well aware of projects that are already been announced. There's going to be some that haven't been announced. So it's like it's just going to be that combination of great stuff that we're really excited for, like Halo Infinite, like Starfield, and then we're also going to get brand new IPs announced, and everyone's going to just be like, man, awesome! Can't wait to play this with Game Pass. Can't wait to play this on xCloud or whatever. Like it's just like I think like especially with Sony not right after them and like beside them and that typical Sony pony Xbot console war of like always just like who won, PlayStation or Xbox. It's like, well, now Xbox has that room to kind of like breathe. They're like the biggest showing here, so that's my guess.
I think
So,
for
I'm
me,
kind of go ahead.
I think for me, it's maybe going to be a coin flip between Square and Nintendo. I think the thing that worries me about Xbox is the fact that their show is like 2 hours long. And I think the pacing isn't going to be good, right? They're going to show a lot of games, but they're also going to have a lot of filler stuff. They're going to have the interviews. They're going to have maybe extended gameplay sessions of games. Like I think the pacing is going to be off. Whereas I think having these more condensed presentations from Final Fantasy and Nintendo are going to be a little bit better suited. So while it's shorter, I think they're going to utilize their time a little bit better. So it's going to be between those two. And for Square, it kind of depends on like what they end up showing, right? Are we going to get all those Final Fantasies? Because if they do show all those, it's going to be awesome. But I think in the end, hanging my hat on Nintendo, although I'm very, very skeptical to do so. But yeah, I think I'm going to go Nintendo.
Okay. I'm going Xbox Bethesda. I think Microsoft Bethesda, and I definitely get what you're saying about Square and Nintendo probably having better pacing because I mean they do these Square Enix Presents and Nintendo Direct, so the digital playfield they're very good at. So they're really really good at it, and they're gonna understand that more than Xbox. But I think overall for who has the prime ability to show the best and will probably show the best lineup for what we can expect over the next coming years is Microsoft and Bethesda. And it's not one of those like whenever I think about this show that they're going to give us too, it's not going to be, well, if they do this, this, and this. Whereas with Nintendo, if they do this, this, and this, they win. Or if Square does it, if they do this, 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 and they win. Whenever I look at Xbox, it's just like, if they don't win this, it's going to be such a letdown for us because 2 hours of stage time. Yeah, it's probably just going to be their standard E3 conference sort of presentation with the gameplay aspects to it, but they're also going to have these huge blockbuster announcements, I think. And I think that they have this would I was just sitting here thinking while Luke was giving his points, the other thing that I would add in along with what Luke said is this is I have a feeling with Xbox, and maybe this is a little bit of hype boy in me or something like that, or fanboy, but I feel like that even if Sony was at E3, they would be hard pressed to compete with Microsoft could potentially be putting up this year. And that's on solid, safe predictions that we've been making off this. We haven't even talked about the things that we haven't seen yet and what they have in store for us over the next half a decade or something. So, and with having the prime that we got in 2019 and 2018, 2019, buying all the new studios, getting everything up and running, putting money into these things, getting people hired, pulling in Bethesda. I think what they've got is a great chance to kind of come out on top for the year if they give us a really good show with some with what they have in store for us, because we all know it's there. It's all lingering. We know what they got. Now all they have to do is just show it and put it in action. And Game Pass, I mean, PlayStation fanboys, oh, it's going to ruin gaming. No, it's just going to ruin your PlayStation experience is what that's going to do. Because when you're sitting here buying Battlefield for your PlayStation, I'm just sitting back and waiting for them to make the announcement on Saturday that it's coming to Game Pass day one. That's all I'm doing, you know?
So real quick, I just realized that we may have missed some potentially spicy yet maybe low-hanging fruit with Capcom, and that's their game Pragmata.
Oh yeah,
That they showed off during the PS5 event last year. So they could maybe show that at their conference this year, or their showcase that they have this year. It'd be exciting to see. I'm interested in that game.
Me too. That for our listeners that maybe don't know what that is, it's basically the way I described it is it's very Kojima-esque because it is one of those like WTF, what did I just see kind of thing. So but it looks very intriguing, like something as like that's very surreal like that is like, yep, I'm sold.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to derail the conversation.
No,
I just
that's a good point.
remembered that popped up. But yeah, Stephen, from what you were saying, the points that you were making, you almost had me convinced to change my answer on that. But I think I'm going to stick with Nintendo because I'm believing that they're going to bring those things that are going to make me want to poop my pants. So
yeah, they're gonna run a clean show. They're good. Square and Nintendo are gonna run a cleaner show than what Xbox is going to. I'm not even arguing that point at all. It's all on what they're gonna give us in this huge library that they've been developing over the course of the last 3-4 years or something like that. But I will say this: if Nintendo gives us the list that I said, they win. Just pure out of pure content, they win.
Sorry, we're gonna move on. We're gonna end off the show because we're running a little long, and we actually got a lot of submissions for question of the week, so we're probably gonna just go straight into that. The one last point I want to make, a couple things that popped into my mind just now. Lucasfilm, there was some announcements earlier this year. Ubisoft is doing a Star Wars game. Do we see our first look at that? That's a little thing that I just thought of. Probably not, but maybe. And then Indiana Jones Machine Games over on the Bethesda side, they had that teaser that came this year. Do we see our first look at the Indiana Jones game? So like there's like some new IPs over at Bethesda that just got announced this year. And I'm not talking Starfield or Elder Scrolls that could be on the horizon too. So man, it's going to be great, guys. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait next week to do all our reactions and all the announcements, and like those are the really fun ones. The prediction ones are awesome because it's fun to kind of like, fantasize of what we could see, but actually getting into the nitty gritty afterwards and sharing our favorite moments from all the presentations is easily like the best episode of the year. So I'm really looking forward to next week. So, and yeah, Steven, thank you for recording all our predictions. We can tally them up next week and see who came out on top.
Yep, I got
Not
the whole
me.
list.
My predictions don't age well.
Tomorrow, everything Adam
Yeah.
predicted gets blown out of the water.
Debunked.
Well, and that's the thing is like, so by the time you guys are listening to this, it went up Thursday morning. We recorded it Wednesday evening. And Summer Game Fest is happening this morning at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So who knows? Maybe there's already things that have debunked our predictions by the time you've heard them, but hopefully it was really entertaining and to listen to, what we are hoping to see at E3 and what our expectations are. So let's turn it over to you guys. We had Nishan, the master of questions, issue the question out to you guys over on the Discord. Of course, you can answer these questions as well by going to invite.gg/gamesarefun. Questions are asked by Nishan over on the Question of the Week channel. You give your response and we read them on next week's episode. So we asked you guys, what are your E3 predictions? And we got a bunch of responses. So bear with me here. We're going to go through them all. Some really great responses. I want to say right at the top, thank you so much to everyone who submitted an answer here, because it's really fun to just kind of get and see what everyone else is kind of thinking, because there's some good suggestions here on stuff I never even thought of. And I'm like, you know what? If that did happen, that would be hype as hell. So we're going to start off with BJ Bernardo says Final Fantasy VII Remake gets released on Xbox Game Pass. So not only just making the announcement for Xbox, but coming to that Game Pass subscription service. He also adds Microsoft Flight Simulator coming to consoles, which is planned, but we don't know yet. Releases within a month between June 13th and July 13th, so coming soon. And then will come to Xbox One along with Xbox Series S and X. And then Mad Hatter 1138 says Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 remake coming out later this year, and Thug 1 and 2 remakes in the works. And Danny, you're just a man after my heart right here. This would be actually the real, I would lose my shit if this got announced, because there's no way. Yeah. The pants would be pooped.
And for those that don't know, Thug is Tony Hawk's Underground,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2. And those were the ones where you could like get off your skateboard for the first time, and Thug 2 kind of was introducing the Jackass cast to the game and stuff. So that would be cool. Nishan says Xbox and Nintendo will have stellar shows. Ubisoft underwhelms. Doug Bowser tries his best, but no one can compare to the charm of Reggie. Breath of the Wild 2 trailer and release date. Smash character revealed.
None of us
never really talked about that.
Yeah.
So my thing is that I wanted to predict that'd be a thing, because I'm sure it will be. I had no idea
who it would be.
who to even pick for it, outside of a meme person like, oh, it's gonna be Goku, or it's gonna be
Crash or something like that.
If they do another anime character, people are gonna freak out if they do another anime character.
Yeah, and I would love to see Chrono, but I mean, he's an anime sword character. But I mean,
watch
us Gino, Nintendo.
Gino's the only one that makes sense. Gino.
Yeah, Gravier 1984 asked Nishan, so a new Pokemon or Fire Emblem character, which do you think it will be? Nishan says neither. It's going to be the Fortnite guy. And so Chloe wrote in, said Final Fantasy 16 is a given, but if they did a remake of 10 similar to 7, I would cry tears of joy. I want an Age of Mythology remake too. Amazing game.
So that'll be out of the PC show then as well. That was such a tough one to come up with a prediction for, but I like that. Age of Mythology for PC. That'd be good.
Yeah, I also be down for seeing. I know we got a little bit of a snippet on Age of Empires 4 earlier this year, but that's supposed to come out this fall. So again, just kind of maybe showing that game. I would like to see it a little bit more.
I'm expecting to see it for PC.
Yeah,
if you're wondering.
Yeah. James Halliday says I'm predicting a 2D Metroid with maybe a teaser for Metroid Prime 4. It's happening. And Nishan, adds one more thing that he will cry if they show Breath of the Wild 2. Polar adds in as well, new Smash fighter perhaps. I think that's pretty much all we got on the Discord on the GAF Discord. So let's head over to the Kingdom. So X Gear Freak X says new Halo gameplay. Gameplay and release date for Starfield. Trailer for The Elder Scrolls 6. Teaser for a new Fallout. Hideo Kojima new IP for Xbox. Gameplay for new Fable. Maybe announcement for Scalebound coming back. EA reboot for Dead Space. Holy moly, these announcements. I'm loving it.
Fire
Yeah.
predictions, right?
Those
Yeah,
are
really good.
Very
fire.
spicy.
Yeah. I think
The
there
Scalebound one is just
That-
that's so spicy.
that's the spiciest for sure. You know, I will add, Gear Freak, that I'm not sure if you're aware, but there is a spiritual successor to Dead Space that actually just got revealed last year during one of the stupid digital events, and it was called the what was it? Frick. Let me just Google it. I can't remember the name of it now. Spiritual successor. Let's see here. The Callisto Protocol. It is a Dead Space spiritual successor, and it was revealed at the Game Awards this past year. So there is kind of a new Dead Space, and yeah, one note to your Hideo Kojima comment, I would love to see Hideo Kojima's next project some point this year, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But that would be really cool too. So yeah, thank you everyone from the GAF community, and also from Gear Freak over in the community, responding to Steven over there. We really appreciate you guys giving those responses, because it makes the show really fun to interact with you guys and see what you guys are thinking in terms of the topics that we're talking about every single week. So thank you so much for that. And our new question that we're going to issue to us is obviously, what did you think of E3? What were your favorite announcements from the E3 presentation? Did you maybe have a specific showcase or presentation that was your favorite? And then kind of following up to Adam's question there, who do you think won E3? So multiple parts to that question. Just kind of give us an overall summary of what you thought, and we'll be sure to read it on next week's episode alongside our own thoughts on E3 week. So that's it. That's the episode. Yeah, I don't have nothing else to add, I don't think. So, thank you so much everyone for listening to this episode of Games Are Fun. Steven, thanks for joining as always. Where can people keep up with you?
Everywhere at Lordly King S. Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and on TikTok.
Yeah, go check out those lore TikToks that Steven's bringing almost daily. So
People are loving them.
Yeah.
One a day. I just take a little something from Final Fantasy 14, give you an idea where it came from. It's been a lot of fun doing them. And we'll be starting into some new stuff. I've been running through one piece of content from 14. We're done and over with it. So we'll be going into something new, and it's going to be special and awesome, and I can't wait. It's going to be a really good one.
I'm excited. How about you, Adam?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at AdamPalooza85.
Great. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Luke Allen Arm. And you can follow me on twitch.tv/Luke the Llama. I'm a little bit of a hiatus right now from the Twitch channel, but we'll be back soon. Yeah, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at GamesAreFunPod. Make sure you're joining that community Discord, invite.gg/GamesAreFun. If you want to email us, you can reach us at contact@GamesAreFunPodcast.com. And you can also keep up with us over on YouTube. Just search for Games Are Fun. All right. That has been our E3 predictions episode for the Games Are Fun podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I hope everyone has an awesome weekend checking out all the game announcements. And we'll celebrate with you next week. Twitch.tv/Games Are Fun podcast. TBA. So make sure you're over on our Twitter page to know when that's going to be happening. But yeah, have a great week, everyone. And we'll talk to you later.